talk a little bit about a huge loss that our metal community has endured since I last shot a video. Trevor Strnad of Black Dahlia Murder apparently took his own life. It's very, very sad. I never really got into that band. Nothing against the band or anything. I just never really got around to it. But it's important, I think, to speak about how important Trevor was to our community, which is a community that thrives on the support of itself. And I think if you want to, honor the life of somebody who just spent his every waking hour supporting the music that he liked and the friends that he had, if you want to honor his life, I think it's important that as many of us take on the duties that he left behind by going to shows, buying as much merch as you can afford to within reason, of course, and just reaching out to other people, starting your own bands, connecting, and just supporting one another, because obviously this is disgusting, horrendous music that only we like. So we are the only support system that we have for one another. So, and I mean that in ways of supporting metal in the various ways that we do. But like, if you found yourself struck by the loss of Trevor Strnad, maybe take it upon yourself to think about some ways that you can get more involved or get more supportive toward the music that you love, whatever it may be. And I just think it's important to try and take a negative emotion or reaction to something and try and do the work to turn it into something positive. We need a whole lot more of people willing to take that work on. I know it's something that I need to do more on myself. So rest in peace, dude. I feel like a lot of people are hurting a lot more than me about it, and it sucks. But we have all this music, we have this community, and by all means, if you're feeling like not living anymore and you can't do it anymore, reach out to anybody, anything, and don't lose the battle. YouTube, how are you doing? My name is Brainsmasher. You're locked into something you might like. I feel really awful about how long it's been since I did a video. Yeah, I just wasn't feeling my last video. I did a collection update of a stack of shit that was huge. It was like 48 minutes of just me drivel babbling about. Didn't feel good about it. Sat on it for a long time. But today I must crank out a video. And luckily for you, I visited a couple of record stores in the last couple of days. I ventured up to Minneapolis in the hopes of seeing my beloved boys in Obsequii live on stage with Tver, and called it hit. Would have been great, but the show got fucking canceled because of COVID. So I did get to hang out with them, which was cool, and I visited my favorite record store in the world, blame Cheapo. Ate some good food. I don't think there's like a signature, is there like a unique signature painting in Is there a question? I know that paintings saw some friends, made it back home. Not great, but thought I would just kind of get the wheels spinning here again on a tiny collection update. I want to get back into the habit of elaborating more on fewer releases. Come on, me. So I picked up some pretty cool shit. I was actually, every time I go to playing Cheapo, I'm stoked about what I get. This is what I want out of a record store every time. I want to walk in, I want to find used CDs, metal section, and great stuff, great prices, like I'm not being paid to advertise this, but I digress. I'm so happy that exists within driving distance. So anyways, first, in no particular order, we've got a Coagulate. You just look at the price tag on there. How about that for you? Coagulate's debut release, The Art of Cryptosis. These guys have kind of blown up since this demo came out, and this is a limited CD reissue put out by Black Hole. Probably gonna be backwards there. Sorry about that. Some South American label put this out. Black Hole put this out. Limited to 300 copies. If you aren't familiar with Coagulate and you're a death metal fan, these guys are really, really bringing some cool stuff. They are 90s death metal inspired, and they write really long songs, and they have some really, really interesting textural guitar work and experimentation going on. They're really like kind of ahead of the game. They're really bringing some interesting ideas to the table. I know the main guy, like Andrew, is super influenced by Phlebotomized, and I think you can kind of hear some of those ideas on here. It's a little amateurish for a demo, but shows a ton of promise. And I know they wound up doing like a 4-way split with a couple of other bands. Like Andrew, by the way, runs that Sewer Rot Records, puts out a ton of killer releases. And they put out a demo a couple of months ago or so to kind of tease their forthcoming full length, which I assume will be on Sewer Rot, and it should be pretty fucking great. I don't know if this is like completely dried up or not. You might be able to find copies out there in distros or something. Check out the Metal Detector, see if you can track this down. It's really fucking good. Got artwork by Nev. So yeah, Coagulate, man. Good stuff. And I was kind of shocked to find like a local band's limited release sitting in the used bin. Come on, man. So here's something I've been kind of just hemming and hawing, wanting to pick up. I loved these guys' first album, Les Blessures de l'Âme, something like that. And they're back, and they're big, and they're on Season of Mist. This is Seth, La Morsure du Christ, the Death of Christ. Totally French band, totally black fucking metal. I was a little, yeah, I'm always leery of the Reformation albums. I don't know if they ever technically like broke up or what, but they just kind of became inactive for probably the greater part of a decade or so. And even their second album, I was like, yeah, I'm good. But like a lot of people were really singing the praises of this thing, and I'll be honest, I was kind of stoked to find out that they were reformed. In fact, the way that they came back was that they played that Les Blessures de l'Âme debut live in its entirety and did a physical release of that. I never heard it. You really can't beat the original. It's fucking one of the unsung black metal classics of the late 90s. Some band photos there for you. But I'll say I listened to this all the way through, and I don't know. I'm not like fuck about it. It's just like these guys are so good at doing today's black metal, but in a way that every single other black metal band is doing kind of like amazing black metal right now. It just sounds super slick, professional. It's not very adventurous or really outside of the box. As far as I'm concerned, like the riffing is really reliant on a lot of like multi-layer harmonic kind of stuff, and therefore like the music is derived from the layers of guitars going on, and the drumming is absolutely bonkers. But I just, I really need clever riffing to make me like really go nuts for a type of black metal that this would ordinarily be. So yeah, I'm a little underwhelmed. It's not awful, but it's just like I am really, really up to my ears in like really, really high quality black metal. It's just it's coming out of every fucking corner of the world. It all sounds pretty great. It feels like it feels like black metal is driven mainly by great drummers these days, and like not so great guitar writing, but also good production, like multi-layers of synth and bass and tons of guitars and vocal effects and stuff. I don't know, this mysticism kind of sound. There's just kind of a lack of creative riffing, and that's got a lot to do with just what my palate is as, you know, kind of a mid to late 90s black metal fan. So that's how that is. If you feel me, you feel me. If not, whatevs. So I was able to visit Blaine Cheapo with my buddy Dave, who is like my #1 fan on the YouTube page. Shout out to Dave. By the way, he gave me a CD that we're listening to right now. I'm not sure how the levels are going to be in here. It's been a while since I did a car video, but he gave me a copy of this really good album, Snout, which is a name I just can't stop laughing about. Apparently the label sent him like 2 copies of this thing. Didn't know what to expect, because anymore you give me that on an album cover and I don't know, could sound like a lot of different variations of some very familiar ideas, but this is pretty good. Well produced, sounds quite kind of maybe like a blastier Dissection, something like that. Really strong lead guitar work. Nothing too out of the ordinary, really. I think this is like a South American band. The album is called Opus Alchinicum, and this release was, I thought I had the glare sorted out here. It wasn't that bad when I first started shooting this. Limited 700 copies. So thank you, dude. That was a really, really cool release. But he also suggested this band that I've just kind of always, I don't know, glossed over and not really cared much about. But then he said that this is one of his top 15 black metal releases of all time. And I just said, give me it. Let's go. Let's do it. I knew a little bit about this band, but I don't know, like coming out of the late 90s into the, this is like 2008. So like by that time I was a little more picky with my black metal. So Celestial Bloodshed put out this album, Cursed, Scarred, and Forever Possessed, in 2008. And I think infamously the guy, one of the main writers in the band, like killed a friend of his or something, and then offed himself. There you go, another fucking Norwegian murder saga going on. But yeah, like I always just kind of saw this name and thought, I don't know, sounds like more hype than, you know, a good record. But this was a very, very, very impressive find. I had really a hard time like pinpointing some influences or similarities. Kind of sometimes reminded me of like a slower Kvist at times. Definitely sounds very Norwegian, but there's times when it kind of takes like the 90s Norwegian template and kind of, you know, works in some more dynamism and different ideas, gives it some kind of broader spatial sort of time lengthy riffs and stuff. So there's fast parts, there's really fast parts, there's slow parts, there's a lot of like various dynamics going on, which I wasn't expecting at all. I thought this was going to be kind of like another Shooter or like Ergahol or whatever, like that kind of stuff where I'm like, yeah, go ahead, that's good, yeah, whatever. I don't listen to those bands really much at all. But this was quite different than I expected it to be, so pretty cool. I might be checking out some of their other releases. Let me know where I should go next. Is this like the only one worth getting or what? Now this next release, I'm so excited about how weird this is, but I will be floored if any of you guys actually like agree with me on how cool this thing is. Wouldn't have known what this was picking it up if they hadn't labeled what it was. And it turned out that it's an album that I've actually been listening to more and more and more over the last couple of months. The band is called Emptiness, and I did a review of their last album on my channel. It was called Not For Music, I want to say. I would really like to do a full review of this because it's just a fascinating release, but it is so far removed from anything metal that I feel like I'm doing you like a disservice by sharing my enthusiasm for it. But I really do want to do a full like breakdown, and like it's such a fascinating and interesting release that I want to elaborate on it a little bit more, but this thing has been rocking my socks for quite a while. It's very subtle, it's very eerie and creepy. It's very forward-thinking. It doesn't sound like really anything else out there that I've ever heard. If there are other things like this that that I'm not aware of, I would love to know about it. But it's very calming. But in a way, it calms you down with its slow tempos. It's not like a Borin under a Club of Gore kind of deal, but somewhere kind of where there kind of lulls you into a calm, enjoyable motion. But then it kind of like starts drooling on you, and then it starts trying to stick its hand down your shirt, and you're kind of a little weirded out and willy. Like the vocals are very like mouth sounds, and it's all in French, I believe. The band's from Belgium. In fact, the singer of this band is also in Enthroned, and there is like zero crossover between Emptiness and Enthroned whatsoever. But if you're interested in Enthroned and want to hear something they're also doing, check this out. It's very, very different. And I actually recommended this to a friend of mine who's kind of into like some more goth and experimental and kind of odd, noisy kind of stuff. And I think she really liked it. I think this is just absolutely fascinating, completely different than anything I've ever heard, and just original, refreshing, and just bizarre. I loved it. Emptiness. Check out that album cover. Dave also recommended that I pick up this most recent release from Draconian, Under a Godless Veil. This is a band I've kind of been like meaning to get into for a number of years here. This one came out on Napalm 2020. I won't elaborate too much here. I put it in. I heard a lot of like sexy lady singing, and it just never quite got off the ground for me. In about 2 tracks, and I had another pile of awesome albums here to play, and I just kind of took it out. It's something I wasn't really in the mood for. I do have my doom periods, my funeral doom periods. I know this is kind of more like a I don't know, My Dying Bride. I can't think of the other band, like Saturnus kind of thing. But I'm just gonna put that on ice for a minute before I maybe sink into disliking it more. We'll see. I've heard that their other like previous releases are pretty good too, so maybe some of those are a little less in that direction. I don't know. This thing though is a contender for Album of the Year. Blut Aus Nord, Disharmonium, Undreamable Abysses. Was very impressed with Bloom, their last album, 2019 maybe. Look at this artwork though. Comes in a slipcase. That cover. Oh. So if you've ever loved any Blut Aus Nord release, you're gonna love this one. There's no reason to think that you wouldn't. And it's very, very interesting to see a experimental black metal artist who has a ton of work under their belt still putting out seriously impressive work. And this thing is no slouch. It's amazing. I think he's kind of like back to experimenting with, I want to say it's like an EBO. This is kind of like trembly, watery sort of guitar effect that he uses, or they use, to achieve some very, very dark, sinister, and alluring sounds. It's definitely along the same template that you know of Blut Aus Nord, but it's different enough and engaging enough and just super atmospheric enough that it's worth picking up. I was so impressed with this thing, and I don't know, I didn't really get around to the early stuff of Blut Aus Nord when I was first getting into metal. I kind of slacked on that. Started picking up in the mid-era, but then I was just overwhelmed by so many releases. Mort is actually one of my favorite Blut Aus Nord releases, so it's a band that I can't really keep up with, but given the caliber of this one and Bloom, I think I'm seriously on board to get everything that I need and check out everything that he does in the future, because this shit is amazing. Contender for Album of the Year, what do you think? So here are let's get this out of the way. This was kind of a piece of crap. I bought this Thought Industry Outer Space is just a martini away, which is kind of a funny title. It was on a Metal Blade. Turns out I was confusing this band with Thinking Plague, who are like an experimental prog kind of band who I love. This I don't love. It kind of sounds like they might be Giants being heavy punk or something. I'm not going to waste any more time with that. Last two though, I'm seriously over the fucking moon about finding copies of these things because they've been on my Discogs wish list, and I've been kind of like trying to work out and finding these things somewhere in the wild or out there internationally for a decent price. But the first one, Blotted Science. It's called The Animation of Etymology. This is the maybe final EP. I don't know if they're done or what. I think Jar Zombek is back to doing Watchtower for a while, but so if you're not familiar, this is Ron Jar Zombek of Watchtower, Spastic Inc., and this is a more death metal style thing than he's ever done, and it is heavy as all fuck. Alex Webster on bass and Hannes Grossman on drums, who you might know from Necrophagist. This is a self-released EP that they did, I am going to say maybe around 2011 or something like that. They did a full length that was, it's kind of not easy to find, Machinations of Dementia, I want to say. That thing is awesome. They're an instrumental band and insanely technical. And that isn't just their calling card. They are technical, but Ron Jar Zombek's guitar wizardry is so signature and so different from all other like wank, prog, tech, any kind of thing, that I am really excited that he's working with a more heavy, a more kind of deathy kind of thing, but also like the topics and the things that the songs are about is just totally wild. I'm not sure what all is like the story is with this thing. The songs are Ingesting Blattaria, Cretaceous Chasm, Vermicular Asphyxiation, A Sting Operation, Human Barbecued, shout out to my boys in Pit Lord, Cessation, Sanitation, Seeing Dead People, Omitting Eyes. This thing is just all over the place, super wild. One of the most experimental death metal things I've heard in a long time, and I will say that while whispering under my breath that Artificial Brain is super overrated. Sorry. Check out Blotted Science. Rules. Can't believe I found that. And finally, about 8 to 10 years ago, I was in Chicago thumbing through a bunch of CDs, and I picked this up and I thought, that might be pretty cool. It was $7, and I was like, you're gonna buy this and you're never gonna listen to it, and I put it back down. And I've been thinking about it over and over and over again ever since then, regretting that I did that. Copies of this thing kind of mostly dried up. There's like LP copies of it on eBay for like $75 here and there. Couldn't find copies of it in the US. So lo and behold, my favorite record store has a sealed copy of this release from 2017. Oh, and I about shot up off the fucking floor into the ceiling. And I'm guessing it's only sitting there because people probably don't even have any idea what this is. Do you know what this is while I'm showing it to you? Cynic. This is Euroboric Forms. This is all 4 Cynic demos, plus some unreleased material, reissued by Century Media in 2017. I am so glad to finally have this. I had just actually added it to my eBay saved list, even though it was on my Discogs wish list. But if you're not familiar with Cynic, get there. To me, like, Death's Human is probably my favorite Death album, and Cynic's Focus is kind of like a perfect companion piece to that record. But it's a little, there's some very, very weird experimental ideas going on in Focus. So if what is, I guess, weird about Focus weirds you out too much, what you want to do is get to their demos, because they're amazing, and there isn't so much of that synthy computer voice kind of stuff that kind of freaks a lot of people out. And these boys were like 18 years old, playing insanely shreddy post-thrash, early death metal, just fucking ripping. These guys were so insanely talented that, like, this is the material that I'm very sure impressed Chuck Schuldiner to hire them as his band, essentially. And then that really was what changed Death into a more technical kind of thing. Old photos, you know the whole deal. So it's got, also it's remastered. It says mastered for vinyl, but it doesn't say anything about being mastered for CD. So I'm not sure if they just like mastered for vinyl and pressed it on CD, which I'm fine with. It came from tape anyway, so I'm not super freaked out about that. But Demo 91, Demo 90, Reflections of a Dying World, Demo 89, and then Demo 88. And it's just amazing to just kind of like go back in time listening to these really, really young, adventurous young dudes putting out some just groundbreaking material that I kind of feel like they never quite got their due. They kind of got their due playing on Death's Human, I think, and then Cynic's Focus kind of weirded a lot of people out. And then we got like the Reformation stuff, like the Traced in Air and all that, and I think that stuff kind of found its niche fan base, but I don't think a lot of death metal people were very quick to embrace the post-Focus Cynic stuff, which I'm there too. I have Traced in Air, only got it a couple of years ago. I'm not crazy about it, but the story about what happened to this band in the last couple of years is utterly devastating. It's one of the saddest things I think I've ever heard about some people in metal. So it's just kind of fun to kind of revisit this band's passionate enthusiasm and technicality and artistry in such a amazing release. God, they were so good. So Cynic, good stuff. So that's it for this video. I hope this is kind of more what I can get into the habit of jamming out video-wise instead of fucking enormous stacks of shit, 50-minute long videos, etc. So, what have you been jamming? Let me know in the comments. Also, I want to talk for a second. My Patreon money that I got from the last 2 months was donated to an Iowa Abortion Access Fund, which helps women get access to much needed abortion care. Fuck SCOTUS. We got some work to do, folks. Let's pay attention to these fucking midterms. Let's get some shit done, because we can't continue this fucking tyranny on everybody's fucking rights. But right now we have to defend women in particular. So thank you. If you're interested in my Patreon, the link will be down there. And going forward, I might even just continue to give all that money to Iowa Abortion Access Fund or other abortion-related things, because I feel weird sitting here telling you that I bought a bunch of CDs instead of giving money to women who need abortion health care. That's a fact. So we will see you next time. Thank you for watching. And if any of this makes you want to unsubscribe from me, fucking do it. Do it. Do it. If you like it, subscribe. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. Woohoo! That was a great video. And it was made possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the never-ending, undying love and support of my Patreon subscribers, some of whom are... If you would like to be a part of supporting my channel and encouraging me to make more content that's as good as the one you just watched, join the Patreon. It's $6.66 a month, and I would appreciate your support. Thanks for watching either way.